It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And welcome back to First News. It is the Wednesday edition here on the 9th of April, just about 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, and the Arkansas legislative session still ongoing. And here to update us on the latest is Nic Horton, the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. Nic, welcome back to the show. How are you this morning?
Oh, Toby, is it still ongoing?
It's still going, buddy. Still going. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, I tell you what, I want to make a promise to you and Jay and all of your listeners. I'm going to do my best to keep it. I'm going to try to get through this time today without incurring any FCC violations for you and your good friends at KARN Newsradio. So that's my commitment. I'm going to do my best. And if I don't, you can take it. You can take it out of my paycheck.
Well, we appreciate that, and that's going to be tough to do on the paycheck. There'll be a deficit there, but but nonetheless, we do have our finger on the dump button. Nic, let me play this audio, and then I'm going to have you explain on the backside what was happening and what was going on at the Capitol when you went to speak in front of a committee yesterday.
We have Nic Horton sign up to speak against the bill. If you guys would, if they... Oh, now wait a minute. If you've already spoke, we're not going to replow the ground. So we're not doing this again. So Nic Horton's already spoke, so he's scratched. What about Nick's?
I haven't been allowed to speak on the fiscal note. There wasn't a fiscal note on Thursday. Is that in the rules that I'm not allowed to speak?
If you've already spoke against the bill, you cannot speak again. Have you spoke against the bill? It's a yes or no question.
I spoke against the bill on
Okay,
Thursday,
then
but
you're not speaking at this point. Nick Steele.
All right, so that's what happened in the committee yesterday. This is all about the food stamps bill, Nic, that is trying to go through the committee right now. Explain what was going on there and why you were not allowed to speak against the food stamp bill that they're looking at.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is there's so many layers to this. I'll do my best. I think some context is really important here to set this up. But this is a food stamp bill. It's going to expand food stamps to Arkansans with up to $6,000 in their bank account in cash. This is a bill that Senator Jonathan Dismang from Searcy has tried the last 3 legislative sessions, and we've stopped him. He's frankly just obsessed with this issue, trying to expand food stamps as much as possible. They've had all session, Toby. Everyone in the building, anyone that's paid attention to this issue for the last, frankly, 6 years, has known that Senator Dismang was going to bring this bill back. He said it in committee 2 years ago. We knew he was going to do it. Everyone knew it. They waited until the last week and a half of legislative session to file the bill. So they filed the bill last Monday. They tried to sneak it through. I'm going to be very blunt today, Toby. Yep. They tried to sneak this bill through last Thursday morning, and they got a little surprised because myself and Opportunity Arkansas, our team, we showed up and we were there and we had prepared testimony about why the bill was bad, about why it's not good for the people of Arkansas, about how much it's going to increase government dependency, and the fact that there was no fiscal note on the bill, that taxpayers were not given any opportunity to know how much this bill was going to cost them. You're going to double the cash asset limit for food stamps and massively increase government dependency, and we're not even going to discuss how much that's going to cost taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't even going to come up. So I was there. I was signed up to speak. Vice chairman of the committee, Wardlaw, the guy who you heard in that clip, was absent because he's a lobbyist doing government advocacy in other states, and he's missed big parts of this session because he's out doing someone else's bidding in other states instead of representing his constituents. And Jeremy Wooldridge, Vice Chairman Jeremy Wooldridge, chaired the committee. They get to the Q&A part of the testimony, and I don't know if he just didn't see me. I'll be honest, I think this was a potential trap that they were trying to ram the bill through on Thursday. And he gets to questions and open comment on the bill, and he says, well, I don't see anybody here to speak for or against. And I've seen this play out where if they don't see anyone, if nobody's there to hold them accountable, they just, all right, let's vote. And they squelch debate, and they just ram the bill through committee. So you can't see this on camera, but I jumped out of my chair, started raising my arms, and I said, no, I'm here to speak, and I want to speak on this bill. And you could see him kind of going back and forth with a parliamentarian like, well, let me look at my notes. So I just walked up to the table and sat down. I did not give them an opportunity to deny me the right to speak. That was on Thursday of last week.
Right.
In that hearing, Representative Cameron Cooper from Searcy was the only one willing to raise his hand and say, no, wait a minute, we need a fiscal note. And I have a right as a member and the representative of my taxpayers, my state legislator, by the way, and said, well, I want a fiscal note. They spent 20 minutes trying to talk him out of it. They spent 20 minutes trying to say, no, are you sure about that? Well, let's have DHS come to the table. They can explain the cost. Okay, are you satisfied with that? Because we really need to get this bill out of committee. And the sponsor's sitting there saying, no, I want to vote. I want to vote. Even though the House rules say, no, a legislator has a right on behalf of his constituents and the taxpayers to request a fiscal note.
Right.
That delayed the bill. They were furious about that. Representative Cooper did that on his own accord. He has a right to do that on behalf of the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. So we fast forward to yesterday. They try to ram the bill through again. Representative Wardlaw shows up, and you hear there in the hearing, I'm there. I get there very early. I sign up to speak on the bill. I think everyone in the room and every legislator in the room knew I was there and knew why I was there to speak on this bill. Mm-hmm. And you hear it in the audio where he calls me up. I was not, by the way, I saw the sign-in sheet. I was not the first person on the list.
Right.
But he intentionally called me up to speak first because he set this whole thing up with the Democrats on the committee. This is a guy, by the way, who was elected as a Democrat, who spent 6, 7, 8 years serving as a Democrat. And then a few years ago, when it became politically popular for him to do so, he switched jerseys and became a Republican legislator. They put him in power. He's chaired all these committees. He's basically, if you've talked to folks, he's been in with the former speaker's crowd. He's sort of run the House for the last few years. He's a Democrat, and he's not on our side on these issues. So you hear it there in the audio where it's a total stunt. It's a total setup. He calls me up to speak simply so he can try to embarrass me in front of the committee. You can't see me in much of the video,
right?
But I walk up to the table and say, he calls me up. He recognizes me to speak, and I go up to the table. And as soon as I get to the table, you hear a Democrat who he coordinated this with to say, "Oh no, he already spoke on the bill." And then Representative Wardlaw, "Oh, you already spoke. We ain't plowing that ground again. We ain't doing this."
Yeah.
So while I'm sitting, he expected me to just tuck my tail and run. But Toby, I mean, if they're going to ignore me, well, what are they going to do to just some mom, some homeschool mom that's showing up at the Capitol today to advocate for her family and the protection of education freedom? They're going to just decide they don't want to let her speak? What are they going to do with a dad? It takes off work to come down and speak on a bill. I mean, that has no influence, that doesn't have a platform like we have, that can't get on KARN and tell the public what's going on at the Capitol. If they're going to do this to me, this isn't really about me. This is about the principle of the thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that constitutional rights are being denied at the state capitol when Arkansas taxpayers want to speak on bills. So I know it's a much longer answer than you bargained for, but I haven't even got to all of my points. But this is a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
The one thing that he says, "Hey, you already spoke on a bill. You can't speak on it again." And so is that the real rule in these situations? Nope. That because there's been a big change to this bill, which now there's a financial note to it. I mean, is that what the rule is? Was that applied correctly or not?
Well, if you can hear in the audio, and we posted this on our Twitter account and YouTube and everywhere else, I asked him. I don't know how I had the presence of mind to do this in the moment because I was so upset the way this was coming out. But I said, "Hey, is that in the rules?" And you could see in the video, he just stares at me.
Yeah. Because
he knows the rules better than anyone. He's chaired the rules committee. He's been on the rules committee. He helps write the rules. He knows he can't do this. Here's what I looked it up after the committee. Here's what House Rule 61A says. All persons wishing to offer testimony to a committee hearing shall be given a reasonable opportunity to do so. It does not say if the Democrat chairman decides he wants you to. It does not say if the majority of the committee agrees with your opinion on the bill. It doesn't even say if you've already been allowed to speak on the bill. And to that point, you nailed it. There was a fiscal note filed on this bill since the last hearing. That entirely changes the substance of this debate. And by the way, it's a fake fiscal note. It doesn't account for all the new enrollment. It doesn't show taxpayers how many new people are going to be added to food stamps. DHS did it in less than 24 hours and threw it online. And you heard the sponsor in the hearing yesterday say, well, we got this fiscal note. It's only $87,000. That really seems like a small amount of money to me. Well, yeah, because DHS didn't actually do a real fiscal note.
Right.
And I know they had limited time and it was a rushed process, but I had 3 pages of comments that I got up at 6 a.m. yesterday morning to write after being at the Capitol for 10 hours on Monday and sat in the hearing for 90 minutes to be denied and attempted to be embarrassed in front of the whole committee. This rule doesn't say if you've already spoken on the bill, you don't get to speak again. This bill doesn't say the chairman gets to decide who gets to speak and not to speak. And this is a rule that was passed unanimously by the entire House of Representatives, including Representative Wardlaw, who decided to arbitrarily violate it yesterday because, frankly, Toby, they don't want to hear what we have to say. They're scared of what we're going to have to say. They know they're wrong on this issue, and Representative Wardlaw and all of his Democrat allies on that committee, including some who identify as Republicans, they don't have an argument. They can't make the case for expanding government dependency in Arkansas. They can't do it.
With what happened yesterday, is there any repercussion for the committee that they didn't follow the rules as you just read to us from 61A or whatever that number was? I mean, Is there any way that they're held accountable to this? And then what happened at the end of the committee meeting? Did the food stamp bill move on, or where is that at this point?
You know, the rules are 130 or something pages long. I skimmed through and read as much as I could yesterday. I don't see really any recourse.
Wow.
And this is sort of the problem with, the inmates guarding the asylum. I don't mean that as hard as it sounds, but like the people making the rules are the ones also in charge of enforcing the rules.
Right.
So if they decide that they want to ignore them, they can ignore them. The guy running the bill that Representative Wardlaw was defending and helping ram his bill through, he's the current chairman of the Rules Committee. So I think there is some sort of process to go to the Rules Committee and say, hey, this wasn't followed. But the guy chairing the Rules Committee who helped write the rules is the one who helped Representative Wardlaw, John Eubanks.
Right.
He helped him pull all this off yesterday.
Right.
So, I've made some inquiries with the Speaker's office. I've talked to some attorneys. We're going to see what we can do. I don't know that there's really any real, strong recourse here, which is really unfortunate. I think the best recourse we have is to come on KARN Newsradio and tell the people what is happening at the Capitol and how their representatives are acting. A lot of people don't like that. Again, as we said, I told Steve Finnegan last week, like, I got to walk into the Capitol every day after coming on here and telling people what's going on. And you get a lot of dirty looks. Like, a lot of people don't like this type of sunlight into what's going on up there. But to answer the last part of your question, unfortunately, the bill did pass out of committee because of all these tricks that they pulled. They killed some other members' bills just before this to really send a signal to the committee that you better fall in line. And so it's going to the House floor, probably on the House floor today. I would encourage folks, I know your folks, unlike a lot of these state legislators, have jobs and full-time jobs, so they may not have as much time to call their legislator today and tell them to vote against this, but it's HB 1915. We just posted an article about it at opportunityarkansas.org if folks want to read that. It's going to dramatically increase the size of government and government dependency through food stamps in the state of Arkansas. It's entirely wrong for Arkansas. There's nothing conservative about it, and it needs to be rejected. So I would just encourage folks, there's still time. We got 6 days left in the legislative session. I think they demonstrated yesterday that they're going to do whatever they can do and whatever it takes and whatever tricks they have to pull to try to ram this thing through. And the only way we're going to stop them is if we call them out and folks call their legislators and say no to this. So I would encourage folks to do that. It'll be on the House floor probably 1:30, 2 o'clock this afternoon.
All right. Well, that's HB 1915 is the bill that you'd be calling your legislators about and asking them to vote no on. So, which obviously will, as Nick was saying, will expand government dependency here in our state and cost us the taxpayers a lot more money. So, make sure that you're.
But we don't know how much.
That. Yeah, we have no idea.
We don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's good, and the chairman wants it. So we're just gonna pass it out. about. We're not going to even look at the fiscal note. We're not even going to talk about the fiscal note. So,
of course, you can get more information on this. As Nick said, they've written an article. It's up at opportunityarkansas.org, so make sure to go and check that out. And Nick, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I really appreciate you shining the light on this and telling us about your experience trying to speak in front of the committee yesterday. And obviously, we'll continue on with this when you join us again next week and see what's going on, and may even make some more appearances on the Finnegan Show in the meantime as this progresses. But Nick, always appreciate you coming on the show, and thanks for telling us all about this morning.
Appreciate it always. Thanks for the extra time. Appreciate you all.